like those first couple of years, even though it was a lot of work and it was crazy sometimes, like just kind of that feeling of looking out into the crowd and being like, oh, okay, this is why. Like, it's worth it. A lot of times Christmas and Easter is when we get a lot of people that don't really go to church. And so this is like the one time that we get to present the gospel to them. And so I think knowing that and being able to see out into the crowd and be like this is why.
Hey, welcome to the More and Better podcast. My name is Joe, and I'm joined here today by Pastor Nayeli Hernandez.
What up?
And I'm also joined here by Brian Spessard.
Hey.
Hey, for those of you listening, I hope that you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope that you ate all the food, saw all the family, that you are just going to town on leftovers. Arguably my favorite part of Thanksgiving. I'm not sure if that's popular opinion.
I mean, there are always plenty of leftovers from Thanksgiving.
I love Thanksgiving.
I feel like I eat for the next couple of days on Thanksgiving food.
I love Thanksgiving leftovers more than the fresh Thanksgiving Day meal.
Yeah.
Ooh,
and that's a hard stance
that's a hot
I'm
take.
taking.
That's a hot take.
There's nothing better than a turkey and stuffing sandwich on like a King's Hawaiian.
Interesting.
Get some mashed potatoes on there too.
You are speaking my language. Speaking my language. Well, wherever you are listening, I truly hope you had an incredible Thanksgiving. I hope that it's just been an incredible start to the holiday season for you and for your family. And as we're entering this holiday season, just kind of starting to wind down on the year even, I just wanted to ask you guys maybe some things that you've been thankful for in this season. Just looking back at 2023, kind of winding it down, what's something that's just been on your heart that you're grateful for?
You can go first.
Oh, okay. I am thankful. It's a cliche answer, but family, honestly. I have some family that lives in Alaska, some family that lives in Texas. And so I'm just thankful that everyone is healthy and they're doing good. And, getting together for the holidays, like that's always fun, having family come or we just got back from Texas, so just spending time with family. I think I'm very thankful for them and their health and just for being able to spend time with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say too, is just my health. Like, I'm just thankful for health. Health with me, health with my family. It's good to, it's just good to have good health. You know what I mean? So it's good for everybody to be able to be together as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think even echoing you guys, like 2023 has been kind of a year for a lot of health scares, even in my family.
For
and
sure.
so it's just been a big season of uncertainty at times. And so it's just nice to be able to go into the holidays just having family around too and just getting to see everybody. Ours is kind of a small get together. And so I think it almost makes it that much more special.
Yeah.
It's just like, man, the gang's all here.
Yeah. How many people do you have at your place?
It's typically me, my parents, my aunt and uncle. I've got 3 older sisters, but they are scattered. Nice. And so sometimes they're here for the holidays and sometimes they're with their families in their little sections.
Yeah.
But it's always a nice little get together.
Cool. We don't have a huge family either. It's like my mom and her sisters and like all of my cousins and stuff. And then, my grandma. And so we like kind of just have this, it's not very big either. We probably have like 15 people, maybe 20. But it's a good time. We're all like huddled together in this small house, basically, like brushing past each other as we walk by. But really good.
It's always like the fun memories when you're just like on top of each other, trying to like get to the mashed potatoes, getting to the food and everything. But those are the memories you look back and you're like, man, those are good times.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So as we're kind of coming out of Thanksgiving and moving towards Christmas, for some people, they've been in Christmas. You ask them and they say November 1st is when Christmas starts. Yep. If you talk to somebody who works in a church, it's been Christmas since August.
Oh, yeah.
So moving kind of in the Christmas season, I have some hard-hitting questions for the two of you.
Okay, bring it.
Very serious stuff.
Oh.
We are going to be playing
this is
or
not
that.
going to be serious. Okay.
This or that. Maybe not so serious, but very telling.
Yeah.
I can assure you that. We're going to be playing this or that Christmas edition.
Okay.
And so I've got some questions of just your preferred Christmas traditions and specialties.
Okay.
So let's start off with a softball. Classic Christmas music or Christmas pop?
Oh, classic
me
Christmas
pop.
music. Oh.
Oh,
Wow.
Okay, so first of all, I'm not a big Christmas music person in general.
gotcha.
So I kind of like some of the newer retakes on some of the classics.
But I do really love Michael Bublé too, so
Real tree or artificial tree?
since I've only ever put up an artificial tree, I'm going to have to go with artificial
Same.
tree.
I mean, I don't have any experience with a real tree.
Yeah.
Same.
They're a lot of work,
I
and
would
they
imagine.
probably smell better, but
Probably do smell better.
they're definitely a lot more work.
I think of the process of cutting it down. I'm like, I'm not built for cutting down trees. I'm built for opening boxes and pulling the tree out. This one could possibly be the toughest question that I ask you guys.
Oh.
The Grinch or Elf?
Oh.
My kids have really been into the Grinch the last couple of years, and the more I've watched it, the more I'm kind of like, you know what? I kind of like this.
I guess it's important to ask this. Which rendition of the
Okay,
Grinch?
so the animated one, not the Jim Carrey one.
I don't know that I've actually ever seen both of those movies fully through. That's, oh gosh. Listen, my Christmas is a little different.
I mean, what's your take here, Joe?
Could be very controversial. This may cause this to be the last More and Better podcast. The Jim Carrey Grinch, terrible. Yep. If it was between that one and Elf, I would be Elf.
Yeah.
But that new Grinch, it gets me right in the feels.
I have to go home and watch all these movies fully
good.
through.
Little Debbie Christmas tree cakes.
That doesn't matter what the other one is.
Oh wow. Okay.
doesn't
I'm
matter.
interested to know
I'm
what the
taking
next
that
one
one.
is.
Or the Little Debbie Christmas tree cosmic brownies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm sticking with it. Yeah.
Sticking with
Christmas
Christmas
tree
cakes.
cakes.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there was no chance. Sorry, brownies.
Sorry.
So sorry. Well, I love how much fun we get to have just around the topic of Christmas. I love just playing games like this, and I love the fun that the Christmas season just kind of brings, whether it's Christmas movies or caroling or Christmas get-togethers and parties. There's just so much fun around the season that I think just kind of brings a warmth. And even what we were talking about earlier, just the sense of being around family and making those memories and having a good time is just such an incredible thing about the Christmas season. But one thing that we as Christ followers get to also enjoy in our Christmas tradition and just kind of our unique perspective of what Christmas means to us is even the season leading up to Christmas that we call Advent. And so kind of diving a little bit deeper into Christmas beyond, Die Hard and Elf and all those things. I just want to open up the question maybe for some listeners that have not had a Christian background when it comes to this time of year. I know me and Nay were talking earlier that we did not grow up doing Advent.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought Advent was a cool way to get chocolate every day for a month, just open the door and, oh, sick, Advent. So I just want to open up maybe for the listeners that's like, wait, you're telling me it's not about chocolate? And just saying, what is Advent and what is the importance of our participation in Advent?
Yeah. Yeah, so I didn't grow up with Advent either. And I grew up, in a Christian home.
Yeah.
It was just something that, it just wasn't really practiced for us. And so I didn't really even come to like an understanding of what it even meant or was, aside from, like you said, like, hey, I get a piece of chocolate today.
Right.
I didn't really come to an understanding of that until like really in the last 10 years or so, as I've been a part of a staff at a church. And so it's really kind of a cool way to build the anticipation towards Christmas, I feel like. As we're living kind of in this season of like Christ is coming, like we know he's coming. Like we just get to continue to build that anticipation. I think that's a really cool way to like ease ourselves into the Christmas season.
Yeah. I think it's such a unique period and time of year where even in the craziness of life and the busyness and just getting caught up in the day-to-day, almost the very nature of Advent is to pause
Right.
and reflect
Right.
and remember. And it's such a nice change of pace almost to, especially like you were saying, like us, we work at a church. And so much of the Christmas season can be go, go, go. But even the nature of Advent for us is like, remember why we're going. Remember just the story and the birth of Jesus. And like you were saying, that anticipation of like what it's really like to like wait and anxiously for that hope to come.
Yeah. I was reading about how Advent is kind of like a Latin. It comes from a Latin word which means like coming or like arrival. And so, like as we kind of build that anticipation if you work at a church, Christmas is like a Super Bowl. It's a Super Bowl time of year. Like you're putting a lot of effort into this one holiday because like this is like a pillar. It's like a cornerstone for us. And so as we're building that anticipation and as we're building towards this big kind of project collectively, it's like you were saying, it's kind of nice to be able to take like a moment every day and be like, okay, Lord, I'm so excited for your arrival. And so, like something else I read was kind of how it's like we're living between two Advents. Like Christ has already come. He came, he lived, he was crucified, he's risen again, but we're living between that and the next Advent of Christ. And so we're kind of like stuck in this in-between. And so while we're in that in-between, we get to celebrate all these things.
I like that. I like the fact of stopping to remember like why we celebrate Christmas. Because if you work at a church, it's go, go, go. But just stopping and remembering like, hey, like if Jesus hadn't come, like if he hadn't come and saved us, we wouldn't be doing this. Like we wouldn't have Christmas. We wouldn't be celebrating this. So just stopping and just reflecting on what happened and then what is to come as well, I think is nice. Like you stop, you remember, and then you look forward to as well.
Yeah. It's so incredible too to be able to kind of put ourselves in the shoes of like prophets and characters of Old Testament too for a little bit, because their whole lives and their whole belief system and everything that they did on a day-to-day basis was looking forward to the coming of this Messiah. And so sometimes that gets lost on us a little bit because we're like, yeah, Jesus, he loves me. He died for my sins. He came as a little baby.
Right.
And so it's almost such a unique just connection even to just God's people that we read about all the time and the same feelings that they felt, that they were waiting in anticipation for this Messiah to arrive. And every year we just kind of willingly put ourselves in their shoes. And I love what you were saying, Brian, about we're kind of between Advents. Not only can we put ourselves in their shoes as we remember that Jesus came as a baby and came to die for our sins and live a perfect life, but we're also waiting in anticipation ourselves.
Yeah, we're in the middle.
Yeah. And that's such a cool connection. I was even looking at other traditions of how people kind of split up Advent because the last, few years as I've done, Advent reading plans or whatever, a lot of it is split up kind of week by week, starting on a Sunday to Sunday. It's split up. One week is focused on like peace, one's hope, one's love, one's joy.
Yep.
But then other traditions, they split it up into 2 weeks, kind of anticipating the next Advent, the next arrival of Christ. And then they spend the last 2 weeks a little bit closer to Christmas, stopping to look back and reflect. And so I thought that was kind of interesting, just the difference between the ways that we're celebrating the same thing. But it's all so beautiful. It's all just centered around that word that I just can't quit saying, anticipation, because that's just what it feels like.
Yeah, it really does. And what I love about the season, I think the most, is how, especially for this, because obviously, like when we start celebrating Advent, like if we think about it practically, like Mary is like 8 months pregnant here. Like she knows she's pregnant. Everybody that sees her knows she's pregnant.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's like this anticipation of like God is coming for us. Like he's coming to us, and he's not coming like there's a song that's I think it's the song Seasons from Hillsong that talks about how he came like as a baby. Like
Yeah.
God chose to came as a baby, like the most what's the word? Like
Just like vulnerable.
yes, that's
like,
what I'm looking for. Yeah, thank you. The most vulnerable kind of way he could have come, he
Yeah.
came that way
Yeah.
for us. And so I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that just really sticks out, and that's that anticipation for me. Like I'm looking forward to God literally coming down for me in the most vulnerable way possible.
And I even think to like people that like the holidays might be a little hard for them, and even like this time of the year, just also finding comfort in that there were prophets that it took years, or some of them didn't even see,
Right.
this promise, this arrival of a savior. And so I think even for people that, holidays might be a little difficult for them for whatever reason, like they can have that hope too. Like, okay, like I might not have my answer. I might not have, or I might, be feeling this way. But like God will come through. Like he did it in the past. He did it with Jesus, with a baby. So he'll come through for me too. And I love that we can take time to find hope even in that. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. I love that you even bring that up, because that's such a real struggle for so many people around Christmas time. I think as our focus has become so much about almost consumer Christmas, about the presents and the events and the parties and the family and things like that, there's a lot of people that this is a really, really challenging time of year for them, because they don't have that.
Well,
But
joy is one of that like topics of Advent.
Absolutely.
Like this season, for some people, is not like super joyful.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think each one of us probably have things where like, like Christmas is great, but like it would be better if this.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, it's a real thing. Like it can be a very hard season for a lot of people.
Yeah. And it brings just so much comfort and encouragement.
Right.
And not to sound cheesy, but it brings peace, joy, love to people that really need that the most, especially during this time of year. And I think even kind of transitioning from Advent to, Christmas is here, even remembering like the entire purpose of why we celebrate Christmas, why we choose to reflect on the story of Jesus and the birth of Jesus this time of year, is really to focus on what's important, what's eternal, what makes it different, what brings hope and joy and peace, and what matters. Because that message is for everybody, no matter if you have the presents, the money, the family. And so I would like to kind of ask you guys, like, walking through Christmases in the past, how is, as simple as it sounds kind of, but just how is taking time to remember and reflect the Christmas story even maybe helped you in your Christmas backgrounds? Because, we all, as we were talking before we started recording, we were all kind of like, man, we all celebrated Christmas differently growing up.
Yeah.
But having that message of Jesus, like, how did that affect you guys?
Like the season of Advent helps me kind of like eliminate the consumer sort of mindset a little bit. It helps get me out of that. Like, I mean, it is a time to give gifts, and it is, a time for all of that. But that's not the reason. And we say that all the time, like it's almost cliche. Like Jesus is the reason for the season. Well, yeah, absolutely, he is. And it's kind of gotten turned into this like twisted sort of like gift exchange. I'm not like a big fan of what Christmas season does to people in general. Like
Right.
traffic gets crazier.
Yeah.
Like from now through the next, the days into January, like I'm not going to Target. I'm not going
Absolutely.
anywhere near that area.
Same.
I try to stay away from Walmart just because it's it gets crazy. There's so many people, and it's almost like the mindset flips in one of the most generous seasons, of the year, one of the most generous holidays. Like we kind of flip a switch mentally, and we're like, it's all about me getting this gift for this person, and not about understanding that the gift was already given for us.
Yeah.
And so that this season of Advent and the season of anticipation and looking forward to it always kind of grounds me back to that reality. that it's not about me or gifts or any of that. It's about sharing the hope of the world with my family and friends and those closest to me.
Yeah, I know we talked a little bit about how we grew up, and so I grew up where presents weren't a thing, like in our family. We didn't set up a Christmas tree. Not that my parents were against it or anything. We just never did, like opening Christmas or presents on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, like wasn't a thing for us. And so, as we've grown up, or as I've grown up, like it was always about Jesus. Like my parents did a good job of that, like just being like, hey, like it's Jesus was born, he's our savior, and we're celebrating him. And so now that I'm older, I do take joy in the fact that like I can give presents now. Like it excites me to be able to give my parents a gift, even though they're still kind of like, why'd you spend your money on us? Like we don't need gifts. But even in that, like I'm thankful that they did raise us that way. Just reminding us like, hey, like this is all about Jesus. Like, we're nothing without him. We're nothing without his sacrifice. And so like, that's what we're going to celebrate. And then at least growing up, I never felt like I was really missing out on a lot. 'Cause thankfully, like we just grew up in a loving home, and, we had everything that we needed. And so, I'm thankful for that. I'm grateful that now I do get to go and get presents, but I think growing up that way just helped me keep him at the center. And so Advent really is, again, just really centers me and reminds me again, like, hey, it's not about you. Like, it's about Jesus. So
That's so good too. I think even these last handful of years of being saved for me, it's been such a perspective change of just being able to remember that my joy, my hope, my peace is not circumstantial. I get to cling to all of those things constantly and eternally and forevermore because of the life of Jesus, because of the free gift of grace, because of him coming to earth and giving his life to save a sinner like me. And so even looking at the story of Christmas is such a grounding story for me to remember that if nothing else, I'll always have that.
Right.
If the holidays look different, if they're difficult, if I'm just in a season of chaos, whatever it looks like, nothing can take away the person and the story and the importance of Jesus. And it's always just incredible to have kind of that anticipation renewed again, because it's like such an exciting time. You can almost get so used to Jesus in a weird way. You can get used to church, you can get used to the Bible stories and all these different things. And it's so beautiful just to have a time of year where it's like, no, I'm excited again. I get to pause and reflect and remember like just the joy that comes from the excitement of knowing like, man, not only am I reflecting on the Messiah that came for me, but I'm also reflecting and looking forward to the Messiah that's going to come back for me. And even speaking of, we throw this word around anticipation a lot. I kind of laughed.
It's the word of the day.
It is. I kind of laughed at a comment earlier about how if you work at a church, you've been in Christmas season since August.
Not lying.
I wish that was a joke. It is not.
Literally.
And so I kind of wanted to transition a little bit from the Christmas story itself, even into talking between us about what it looks like being church employees during our Super Bowl Sunday, if you will. And so even in you guys' roles here at the church, what does Christmas prep look like for you?
Do you want to go first?
Brian laughs nervously.
I mean, to begin with, it's really just planning. I think the better you plan, the better it is for you. As a worker, like not taking work home, like the more you can plan and prep ahead of time, the better, which is why we start in August. Just like, I know it might seem crazy, but honestly, like just meeting ahead of time and having a plan is way better than just
Like panicking in
yes,
November.
yes.
Yeah.
And so I think honestly, this year we've done a really good job of that,
Yeah.
planning in advance, and honestly, just having a plan ready to go. I keep saying plan, but really, like, I'm just like, the more you plan, the better it is.
Right.
Just because, like, there's been seasons where we're kind of planning last minute. And that can be very chaotic, especially when you're already staying here, like, till midnight. Like,
Right.
you're tired, you're hungry, you've been working all day, and if you don't have a plan and are waiting to make decisions last minute, probably not the best time to be
Right.
making decisions and planning. So, yeah, for me, it just honestly, like, that's what I try to focus on, is like having a plan and dates and times and things ready to go ahead of time. So that way, when it does come down to it, like, we know exactly what to do and aren't having that many questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we know Christmas is coming every year,
Yeah.
and it's inevitable that in like August or even really July, even as early as July, I'm like, oh gosh, we're 6 months away, or
We're
we're
almost
6
there.
months away from Christmas is coming, and I almost even start like a countdown timer in my head, like
Right.
we're 180 days away from Christmas or whatever. But yeah, I mean, when you do Christmas and you kind of work at a church and you're like doing Christmas for other people and like trying to do Christmas like, for your family, it can
Yeah.
be like really, really exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of ways, like if you just look at the work of it, it can be kind of like, it can kind of steal the joy of it a little bit for you.
Yes. Yep.
And I'd be lying if I said that didn't happen to me. Like I've been here at Harvest Time for almost 15 years now. And so I've done a lot of these. And there have been multiple times where it's like, I just don't like Christmas. Like, I don't like, I talked about it earlier. I don't like what it does in people a lot of times and kind of how it changes us to be a little more self-centered than it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But also, like, it's just a lot of work.
Right.
It's a lot of work and, like Nate was saying, a lot of planning. And so you kind of can lose that joy of like, this is why we're doing this. If you lose sight of the why, then it becomes like really burdensome, and it can just feel like you're walking through like this never-ending sinkhole of mud. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if you step in mud,
Just so many tasks.
the kind of mud that you lose your shoes in, it can just feel like that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't really know where I was super going with that, but other than it can just be really hard, and if you lose sight of the why, if you lose sight of the like, we're doing this because this is like the season that this is an easy season for us to tell people about Jesus because he literally, like we said earlier, he came for us.
Right.
If you lose sight of that, then it can get really heavy.
Yeah. Remembering the why is so important because even for a church like ours where we kind of take pride in the fact that we kind of make a Christmas experience.
We do Christmas big.
But there's so many elements to that are so many thankless jobs. And if you forget the why, it can be easy to grow bitter towards those things. But I think there's something incredible about going in with an attitude that says, even if I'm never thanked for the months of planning and coordinating and endless phone calls that all this stuff took, like looking around our Christmas services and seeing families that are having an incredible time and seeing people that are coming to experience the story and the person of Jesus for the first time, like getting to sit back and see that is just like, man, I may have slept a total of 6 hours the last 3 months, but it was so worth it.
Yeah, so we do candlelight in all of our services. That's a big thing for us. We have this moment of candlelighting in our services. And for me, that moment, the first time we do that, like the first service, so our services this year at 4 and 6. So in that 4 o'clock service this year, when we light those candles, I'm going to look across the room and be like, this is great. Like, I'm ready for Christmas now. Like, it took me till December 24th at 4 p.m., but I am now ready for Christmas.
Yeah. And you guys' experience,
moment.
And you guys have experienced, speaking of just kind of powerful moments, has there been a Christmas service experience that just stands out to you, like a particular year, a particular service moment where you look back and you were just like, man, this is a special moment for me?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. I would say like, it's been several years ago now. There was a lady that worked here named April Phipps. She sang a song.
Yes.
She sang the song Noel. I'm not gonna try to do it here, but look up the song later. um, she sang the song Noel, and we kind of like lowered this like glittery star down while she sang it. It was just like, it was one of those like, this is Christmas, like thank you Jesus kind of moments. So that one, I'll give you a second one. We've had the honor of having Andy Chrisman here a couple of times. If any of you know who Andy Chrisman is that are listening to this, anytime he sings "Oh Holy Night," I'm like, now
Jesus
it's
has entered
Christmas.
the room.
Yes.
Oh man.
If I hear Andy Chrisman sing "Oh Holy Night," like it's on.
That's a moment.
Yeah.
I probably, so I've been here since 2014. I back when Harvest Time had a school of ministry, I joined it, and so I was an intern. And I remember, I think back then we were still doing Celebrate Christmas, and so I just remember like that was so like crazy to me, because I come from very small churches where Christmas shows and what we were doing at that time like was mind blowing to me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy! Like
Right.
we're amazing! Like I love this. And so I think getting to be a part of that, I think just really like I realized like I love this. Like I love that we have something for families. I love that we get like because at the I think the certain year I'm thinking about we had Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer skit or something in service, and I got to play like a small part in that and like in bringing the kids up to stage and then taking them out. But that was like just so meaningful to me. Like I was like, oh wow, like I have purpose. Like this is amazing and fun. Obviously back then I didn't realize how much work actually goes into it, as much as I do now. But I just remember like just feeling so thankful like for the opportunity to get to do that. Like it's silly. People were laughing and enjoyed it, but it was nice to know that like we could provide that for them. Like we could provide a place that they wanted to invite their friends to, that they wanted to invite their family to. And so I just remember like those first couple of years, even though it was a lot of work and it was crazy sometimes, like just kind of that feeling of looking out into the crowd and being like, oh, okay, this is why.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
worth it.
Yeah.
A lot of times Christmas and Easter is when we get a lot of people that don't really go to church. And so this is like the one time that we get to present the gospel to them.
Yeah.
And so I think knowing that and being able to see out into the crowd and be like this is why,
Yeah.
I think is important.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love those moments.
Yeah. I think that's been kind of the center of this whole conversation is just remembering the why, whether it's from a church standpoint and Christmas service standpoint, or just for families or individuals that walk through this season and it's maybe difficult or confusing for them. No matter where you're at in life, the season's kind of about remembering the why, remembering why we create these Christmas experiences for families, but also remembering why we choose to pause and reflect and remember the story of Jesus. And so for those listening, it's our prayer that this episode has helped you remember the why, that has helped you be able to pause wherever you're at and just start to think about the story of Jesus for yourself, what that means for you and your family and your life. Do you guys have any resources that you would give listeners as far as resources to help understand Advent or the Christmas story or anything like that?
Yeah. So there's there's a website called He Reads Truth, and they have like an accompaniment of like She Reads Truth. So He Reads Truth, shereadstruth.com. Go there. They have tons of like Advent resources there that you can like purchase, check out. They're kind of like devos and stuff.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's one that I've gone to a few different times, and they're really good.
I think the Bible Project has a lot of really good resources for all ages.
Yeah.
littles all the way to older. So Bible Project, I don't know what the website is, but you can Google Bible Project. They'll
If
come
you
up.
Google it, you'll get there.
It'll
Yes,
be the first
yes,
one.
yes. They have a lot of good resources of just what Advent is and plans too that you can do with your families.
Yeah, absolutely. If you use the YouVersion Bible app, typically every year there are always tons and tons of incredible Advent plans that you can join along with, or just Christmas plans in general that helps kind of break it down day by day. Or you can follow up with Harvest Time on our social media accounts. You can head over to Harvest Time Net on Instagram and jump into our creative team's wonderful Advent plan that we are doing weekly through this Advent season. We are in the first week right now. So if you have not seen our post for the first week of Advent yet, you can jump over to our Instagram and go read on that. We have some resources there for you. If you're one of those people that the holidays can be difficult for you, that maybe you feel like you're kind of doing this thing alone. We do not want you to feel like you have to carry this weight alone. We don't want you to feel like you have to go through this season alone. So this is your official invitation. If you would like to join us at Harvest Time on Christmas Eve, we've got our 2 normal morning services on the morning of Sunday, December 24th at 9:15 and 11 a.m. Those will be kind of normal church services that you can feel free to jump along and join us at those. Or on Christmas Eve, you can come at 4 p.m. or 6 p.m., and that is going to be our actual Christmas Eve, Christmas experience. It's going to be tons of fun for the whole family, but also, like we said, really reflective, really purposeful, really meaningful, and we hope to see you there. If you have any questions for us, if you want to just reach out and connect to us, as always, feel free to email us at moreandbetter@harvesttime.net. And until the next one, we'll see you guys.